Make sure you watch the entire video. It will show you how to stop feeling like you don't belong at your job and instead help you understand how valuable you truly are. Think about the things you're really proud of accomplishing. Do you feel good about them, or do you sometimes feel like you're tricking people? When you get a raise, move up at work, or get praised, does it make you happy? Or do you worry that someday others will realize you're not as good as they thought? If you often feel like you're not as good as you should be, you're not alone. Many successful people feel this way sometimes. So, if you feel like you're fooling everyone, it might mean you're actually really talented. People who are actually fooling others don't usually worry about it. In today's video, Luxo lovers, we are going to talk about what imposter syndrome is and how to get over it. First and foremost, we want to express our heartfelt gratitude to our beloved Luxo lovers for their incredible support. Your support truly means a lot to us. With that said, we have another small request to make. Could you please like this video, share your thoughts in the comments, and share it with your friends as well? By doing so, we can connect with even more people. Once again, thank you so much for your overwhelming support, Luxo lovers. Let's begin! Imposter syndrome is a psychological condition in which, despite your actual expertise, you mistrust your own abilities and feel unworthy. It is the overpowering sense that your success is unworthy of you. You begin to think that you're not as talented, intelligent, or creative as other people perceive you to be. You begin to believe that your achievements are the result of pure happenstance, astute timing, or simply being in the right place at the right time. Imposter syndrome can connect to other doubts about yourself, like being afraid of succeeding, failing, or hurting your own progress. But it's not just about not feeling confident or being too humble. It's about always worrying that others will find out you're not as good as you seem, and you might end up feeling alone and rejected. Imposter syndrome frequently strikes when you're doing well, such as taking on additional responsibility, like educating others, launching your own business, or becoming a father for the first time. You might feel like you have to work even harder because you think you're not good enough, to make sure nobody figures you out. This might actually lead to more success and praise, but you'll still feel like a fake. But sometimes, you might start to believe you're not that good and lower your goals. This is called downshifting. It stops you from reaching your full potential. This phenomenon was initially identified in a 1978 study report by psychologists Pauline Rose Clance and Suzanne Imes. While they originally used imposter phenomenon to talk about accomplished women, anyone can go through this. Here are three main things that people with this feeling might do. 1. Thinking that others see them as better than they really are. 2. Worrying that others will find out they're not as good as they seem. 3. Not wanting to admit their successes and sometimes even stopping themselves from doing well. Imitation syndrome can seriously impair your work and possibly cause you to feel depressed and exhausted if left untreated. Now let's talk about why imposter syndrome happens. Licensed marriage and family therapist Alison McElroy specializes in mindfulness and cognitive behavioral therapy, explains that humans are naturally tough on themselves. Our brains are wired to pick up on things that might be going wrong, which is called negativity bias. This means we focus a lot on mistakes and things we're not great at. That's why it's quite common for many folks to start feeling like they're pretending sometimes, especially when they're working. It's crucial to understand that certain groups are more susceptible to imposter syndrome than others. People who are really successful or those who feel like they don't belong might experience it more. This could include transgender or non-binary people, as well as people from diverse racial or cultural backgrounds living in areas where diversity is the norm. Experts cited in the publication of the American Psychological Association say this. There are 5 primary forms of imposter syndrome, according to expert on the subject and co-founder of the Imposter Syndrome Institute, Dr. Valerie Young. Number 1. The perfectionist. This is when you think you have to be perfect to do well. You feel like a fake because you believe others are better than you. Number 2. The expert. The expert feels as though they are not an authority on the subject. They might not be good at every single step. They believe they are not a true expert because they still have a lot to learn. Number 3. The natural genius. This is when you don't think you're naturally smart or good at things. If you don't get something right away, or it takes you longer to learn, you feel like a fake. Number 4. The soloist. You might also feel like a fake if you needed help to get where you are. If you had to ask others for support, you might doubt how good you really are. Number 5. The super person. This is when you believe you have to work the hardest and achieve the most. If you don't, you feel like you're tricking others. Now let's talk about imposter syndrome and what it feels like. Feeling like an imposter can show up in different ways. Some common signs include not being able to see how good you really are, thinking your success only happened because of outside things, being really hard on yourself about how you do, worrying that you won't meet expectations, doing more than you need to, stopping yourself from doing well, not believing in yourself, setting really hard goals, and feeling sad when you don't reach them. Now, at this part of our video, you might be thinking, do I have imposter syndrome? If you think you do, tell us in the comments below. If you're unsure if you may be experiencing imposter syndrome, think about the following questions. Do I feel unsure about the things I've achieved? Do I not think my achievements are that good? Is it tough for me to accept compliments without changing the topic? Do I compare myself to others a lot? Do I get really hard on myself for small mistakes at work? Do I often think my success is just luck? Am I someone who always wants things to be perfect? Do I work too much to hide that I feel not good enough? Do I do worse when I'm under a lot of pressure? Do I always feel like I need to prove myself? To continue our discussion, imposter syndrome affects groups as well as individuals, such as a team at work. Now you might be wondering, is my team dealing with imposter syndrome? Remember that nobody is immune to the effects of imposter syndrome. It could also be detrimental to the groups and organizations they are a part of. It's critical for team leaders to keep an eye out for members of their team who may be experiencing emotions of inadequacy. You may notice that they decline promotions or shy away from taking on significant projects or new difficult roles. They might claim that their success has been chance or the result of knowing the right people, and they might get uncomfortable receiving praise or acknowledgement. Another sign to look for is if they often compare themselves to others in a negative way. They may say things like, "I'm not really sure if I'm right, but," or "It could just be me, but." They may even discuss candidly that they are afraid of not succeeding or performing well enough. Now let's discuss the impact of imposter syndrome. For some people, feeling like an imposter can push them to work hard and achieve things, but this often leads to a constant feeling of worry. You might end up doing too much work or getting ready for things more than you need to, all because you want to make sure nobody figures out that you're not as good as you seem. As time goes on, this worry can get worse and even lead to feeling very sad. This creates a cycle that's hard to break. You may believe that your performance in the class presentation was only due to your late-night practice sessions. Alternatively, you may think that the only reason you survived that family get-together or party was because you committed every detail to memory, so you'd always have something to talk about. The tricky thing about imposter syndrome is that even when you do well at something, it doesn't usually change how you feel. You still have that thought in your head asking, "Why do I deserve to be here?" The more you accomplish, the more you might feel like you're faking it. It's like you can't really believe in your own successes. This can make sense if you have social anxiety and you got early feedback that you weren't great in social situations. Your deep beliefs about yourself can stay the same, even if there's proof that they're wrong. You might think that if you do well, it's just because of luck. Lastly, we'll talk about how to handle imposter syndrome. Recognizing that you're dealing with it is often the hardest step. Some folks think they have to act like they're better than they are, but that's not true. If you believe imposter syndrome is affecting you, here are some strategies to consider. Acknowledge your feelings. Begin by recognizing your emotions and their causes. It's important to give yourself permission to feel vulnerable and uncertain at times. Keeping a journal to jot down moments of self-doubt or inadequacy can help you challenge these thoughts. By externalizing your inner feelings, You can objectively evaluate whether they are based on reality or on unfounded fears. Remember, feelings are valid, but they don't always reflect objective truths. Talk to others. Reach out to people you trust, friends, colleagues, or mentors who can understand and offer perspective on your feelings. Realizing that you're not alone in feeling this way can be facilitated by sharing your experiences with others. Often, hearing other stories and insights can provide a broader view of the situation and help you recognize the gaps in your own self-perception. Shift to a growth mindset. Embrace the concept of a growth mindset, where you believe that your abilities and skills can improve through effort and learning. Instead of being fixed in your beliefs about your limitations, recognize that you're capable of growth. Adding the word "yet" to negative thoughts can reframe them into opportunities for growth. For instance, rather than saying, "I can't do this," say, "I can't do this yet, but I'm capable of learning and improving." Handle negative self-talk. Imposter syndrome frequently takes advantage of negative self-talk that bolsters inferiority complexes. Confront your inner critic by distancing yourself from it. Imagine it as a separate voice, almost like an external character, and evaluate its statements objectively. When you hear negative thoughts, ask yourself if you would say the same things to a friend facing similar challenges. This practice can help you gain perspective and counter the destructive influence of your inner critic. Recognize strengths and weaknesses. Building confidence starts with understanding your strengths and weaknesses. Conduct a personal SWOT analysis, a self-assessment of your strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Identifying your strengths reaffirms your capabilities, while acknowledging your weaknesses allows you to address them proactively. To counterbalance your inner critic, surround yourself with positive people who can inspire you and offer helpful criticism. Embrace imperfection. Overcoming perfectionist tendencies is crucial in combating imposter syndrome. Allow yourself to take breaks, practice relaxation techniques, and zoom out to see the bigger picture. Recognize that making errors is a necessary component of learning and development. Instead of viewing mistakes as failures, see them as stepping stones towards improvement. Embrace the process of learning from your experiences, which can lead to greater resilience and adaptability. Own your successes. It can be difficult to accept credit and acclaim for your accomplishments if you suffer from imposter syndrome. When things go well, people often attribute their success to external factors like luck. However, it's important to recognize your contributions and skills. Develop an internal locus of control. Believe that your actions influence outcomes and take responsibility for your achievements. When you meet a goal or complete a project, acknowledge that your efforts and talents played a significant role in making it happen. Celebrate achievements. It's important to take the time to acknowledge and appreciate your accomplishments, no matter how modest. Individuals grappling with imposter syndrome tend to downplay their successes or quickly move on to the next task without acknowledging their accomplishments. By celebrating, you show appreciation for the bravery, perseverance, and hard work required to accomplish those benchmarks. This practice reinforces positive self-perception and provides a psychological boost to counteract self-doubt. Rewire your beliefs. Leverage your brain's remarkable neuroplasticity to challenge and reframe negative beliefs associated with imposter syndrome. Practice mindfulness and self-compassion to become more aware of your thoughts. By consciously choosing more positive and self-affirming beliefs, you can gradually shift your mindset. Realize that you are in control of how you view your abilities and yourself. Over time, this practice can help you develop a more accurate and confident self-concept. It takes time and work to overcome imposter syndrome, but with the right support, you can recover your confidence and realize your own potential. Remember, self-doubt is a common experience, but it doesn't have to define your self-worth or limit your potential for growth and success. And that's a wrap for today's video. We hope you found our insights on imposter syndrome helpful. If you enjoyed the video and learned something new, give it a thumbs up to show your support. We'd love to hear your opinions on imposter syndrome in the comment section below. If you know someone who could benefit from this information, share the video with them. Don't forget to subscribe to Luxo-Life for more content on personal growth and self-improvement. By subscribing, you're joining a community of people dedicated to learning and growing together. Thanks for watching, and remember, you have the ability to conquer imposter syndrome and embrace your true potential. Until next time, Luxo lovers!